Yes, I think that's the main message is that student voices need to be represented in this process. It doesn't seem like there has been much as far as student voice in developing this policy, and I think that student voices would significantly improve it.
And you mentioned that the vice chancellor of the HDA district was meeting with who again?
So they have regular monthly meetings. And I'm not exactly sure everyone that's part of that. The last meeting, ePrinted was represented in the meeting, as well as anyone in the district who was interested. And they have a committee themselves. And we have some people in the library who participate in those meetings, but it's a district-wide
Go ahead, John.
Let me give you some history on that. Years ago, we have a network printing system. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. It's in the library. And it was solely confined just to the library. When we looked at other solutions, what students had asked for was a printing solution that they could use from their laptops, their tablets, their phones. And so, and that was also tied into your DASB card, which was very important because it provided value for your DASB card. They at one time wanted to decouple that, and Foothill actually brought that up, and it was a battle. At that time, we did have student input. There were students from Foothill and De Anza coming. These meetings have been going on for at least 2 years that I know of. And what came out of that original decision was that Foothill could go their own way, De Anza could go their own way. So Foothill, they're moving maybe towards to decouple their ASB card. De Anza wants to maintain it. I don't know how long that's going to happen. But in any case, what came out of that was the students wanted to have a network solution where it could be wireless so that they could print from their house at night, 12 midnight, come in the morning, go to a print station, release the print, and then get your document and go to class or whatever. So the solution at that time was this company called ePrinted. It was a disaster. Students didn't like it. It was very cumbersome. I don't know if it's still cumbersome. They tried to make some improvements. And it's rather costly. And we have a print minimum, a number of print that has to be done annually in order for the company to service the contract. That's come under fire because we're not making those minimums for the print. So these meetings started more than a year ago to try and find a different print solution. The committee didn't move fast enough, and we got stuck with not having a printing solution if we dropped the current one. So they renewed the contract on the current e-printing solution. It's not been good, guys. And if you want representation, the E-Tech committee was supposed to have some student representation on that e-printing committee. I think they meet the second or third Thursday of every month at 1:30 in the afternoon.
Do you know where we would be able to attend?
I attended online last week, and I was asked that DASB is sent an invitation. So I think the meeting was if you wanted to show up in person at Foothill, Green Room, but it's a lot easier online.
So you would be interested then in participation, correct?
Is there a way that I could easily inform you all, like the meeting is there?
I think we have to go through protocol. It's Shen Chi's meeting. So we should go through protocol and request him to send you an invite. Now, if you don't have Zoom on your computers, you need a computer that's accessible to Zoom, so you may have to work through Dennis. His computer does have Zoom. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if yours in the office do or not. So let's work through Dennis. Okay.
Thank you. final questions or comments on this item? Yes.
So how are we gonna like get into this? How are we gonna go to the meeting? I mean, like not go but attend the meeting and get more information, or just start like what we did for the employment issue, like write the statement and just get students like petition. So what are we gonna do?
Yes, John.
Yeah, I would explore the possibilities of trying to get it changed first before you go. There may be enough reception from administrators to try and change this, but I would say, participate in the next meeting to see what the problems are and see how much willing they are to look and see how they can correct this. You may have a contract with Key Printed. My understanding is they wrote the contract and the district accepts that contract. So it may be more involved than just getting students.
And it sounds like there are solutions being talked about. And our dean, who worked at another college before and implemented a print system, she's done a lot of research and has experience with this, so she is working on finding solutions for students now too. So I think that there will be solutions presented at the next meeting, hopefully. And they also mentioned, ETS also mentioned that the business department will be a part of that. They are looking at financial solutions to it for students who haven't received refunds in the past, and how students in the future will receive refunds.
So after the meeting, we will be able to just meet up and see who will be able to attend. Any final questions or comments on this item? Okay. With that, we resume with item 2, then 1, which would be the parliamentary procedure that is taken by.
Okay. So, guys, I agreed to do this in 25 minutes because of a matter of time, and I thought the matter of urgency also. I didn't want to go on any further without giving you some background in parliamentary procedure, because it was killing me to watch you guys grind through these things on a weekly basis. So, by all means, this is not going to be a comprehensive program like I thought you need. And I'm looking forward to the admin committee actually putting on a full parliamentary procedure workshop along with those other workshops that I recommended or spoke of. First of all, Sturgis. In your code, you require to use Sturgis. Now, there is Robert's Parliamentary Law, which is this little red book. There's Sturgis here. There's even a third one I know of called the Meters. So this was written in the 1850s, 1860s by a military man, British, to facilitate meetings. This is a woman who wrote this, and actually Congress uses Sturgis. And Demeters was actually written by a prisoner while he was in prison. So there's lots of variation. Why do you use Sturgis? Okay. Roberts is very archaic language. I'll give you an example. When you want to end debate on something, I move to call the question. Students had a difficult time associating calling the question with ending debate. Sturgis cleaned that up, saying, I move to end debate. So it's modern language, and it's much more easily understood by students than Roberts. However, I'll be the first to tell you, who's your legislative affairs officer? Who?
Pretty.
Okay, she's not here now. But you go to one of those general assemblies, and you tell them you don't use Roberts, they're going to say, oh, you don't use parliamentary procedure. They're going to poo-poo Sturgis. They're going to say the only one in parliamentary law is Roberts. And they go through this elaborate spiel. Okay, so if you guys, a couple years ago, they did investigate, the Senate did investigate Roberts versus Sturgis, they still upheld Sturgis. But if you guys want to move back to Roberts, you could do, not a problem. All right. Now, the authority where does the authority reside? In the Senate or the presiding officer? It resides with the Senate. The presiding officer is prevented from even entering debate. The presiding officer must remain non-biased. In fact, Kwong, the president shouldn't even vote until the very end. You're supposed to be the last person to cast your ballot. Why? If it doesn't make a difference, if it's 10-2, of what value is your vote? Nothing. So then you don't tip your hand. You don't show your inclinations whether you are for it or against it. All right? The only time that the president's vote really should count is if he votes to make it a tie. So if it's 9-8 and he tries to make it 9-9, it kills it because ties don't win. Or you can break a tie to make it win. So the president really only votes if it has an impact on the final outcome. And again, the reason is so you stay completely non-biased. Form of emotion. Look, there is a reason to this format. One is senator. I move to paint the room red. It's not I make a motion or I want to move. No. It's in the present, I move to do something. What do? I move to paint the room red. The presiding officer, it's been moved to paint the room. Do we have a second? Now, sometimes I know we have this little cultural thing within our own Senate. There's two areas where we have this, where somebody can just put out a hand like that. Senate, the presiding officer recognizes that as a second. That's fine. It's not provided for in Roberts or Sturgis, but it's a cultural thing within your group. So it's fine. So it says it's been moved to paint the room. Do I have a second? Or the presiding officer sees the second hand and just announces it. If he sees the second hand, he can go right to the next line. It's been moved and seconded to paint the room red. We are now open for discussion. Let me put this here. Now, strict parliamentary law uses the pro and con method for discussion. Anybody think about why that is? Victor?
So you'll end quicker and we won't go around?
Yes. See, if everybody in the room is for the item, there's no need to discuss it. You can go right to vote and speed your meeting along. The whole point of parliamentary law is to facilitate you moving your meeting and getting your business done. It's not to block an item, it's to facilitate bringing completion to the meeting. So, if it's pro-con and all of a sudden there's no cons left, the presiding officer can say, we have no more con votes. Can we move to a vote? That's a hint that somebody should end debate. So somebody would raise their hand, you get recognized, I move to end debate, second it, now. Here's another little quirky thing that this Senate has adopted. There's several ways to end debate. I move to end debate, it needs a second, gets a second, and it goes to a vote. And you take a formal vote. Or the presiding officer says, it appears we are getting redundant arguments. Can I entertain a motion to end debate? See, you guys have invested all your time into the presiding chair. The presiding chair recognizes your time as valuable. He doesn't or she doesn't want you to stay here longer than need be. So that presiding officer is going to try to facilitate and move that meeting forward. So take it leads from the presiding chair. And you have somewhat of a latitude to entertain motions and move things along. So, can I entertain a motion? Or the senator calls for any debate, gets a second, and the presiding officer says, is there any objections to ending debate? That's a little quirky thing. It's not provided for in parliamentary law. It's to facilitate your meeting and getting faster. Instead of taking a vote, if there is no objection to ending debate, then you move forward. You move forward and get done with it. However, if one hand goes up as an objection, then the presiding officer must go through the formal vote to get a 2/3 vote. All right? Any questions on that? Because I see that very confused look on many faces on that. Is there any objections? It's just a way of facilitating moving your meeting faster, eliminating the need to have a vote. Okay. Where's the rest of my papers? Oh, right here. Now, if you didn't know any parliamentary procedure at all, coming in fresh, all you need is this. It's on every one of your name tags right here. All you need to do is know how to read this chart, and you can get through the business, and you can also protect your rights. Let's look at this. Main motions. I'm sorry, I'm going to come on a second. Main motions. As a priority, these are priority numbers right here. 1 being the highest priority, 10 being the lowest priority number. Main motions have the lowest priority. Anything, if you get a main motion introduced, I move to paint the room red, it gets second. It's been moved and seconded to paint the room red. Any one of these can happen in this descending order. For instance, the motion comes up. Somebody raises their hand and says, I move to refer this to committee. Now, you're in this level, not down here at the main motion, because this has a higher priority than this. So you begin discussing the referring to committee. Then someone says, I want to postpone till the next meeting. All of a sudden, now you've moved up from number 8 to number 4. And you're not discussing about referring it to committee. Now you're discussing to postpone temporarily. In fact, somebody can make a main motion and move to adjourn, because that has a higher priority. Then all of a sudden, you would be talking about adjourning right here. But however, it's not debatable. Which brings me to my next step. You read across. So, the motion to adjourn, can you interrupt the speaker? No. Does it require a second? Yes. Is it debatable? No. Is it amendable? No. What's the vote required? Majority. Closed debate. Interrupt? No. Second? Yes. Debatable? No. But it requires a 2/3 vote. So, any one of these, you have these options to deal with motions once a main motion has been introduced. Now, these motions down here, how much time do I have left?
14 minutes.
Okay. These incidental motions are your protection. Point of order. It's not to ask another question. A point of order is actually a point of parliamentary inquiry. Or maybe you skipped something and you want to ask the chair, Mr. Chair, did you skip item number 4? It's a point of order. But it's not to ask, I don't understand about this motion, I want to ask another question. Parliamentary inquiry is strictly a parliamentary inquiry. If you think the chair is doing something wrong parliamentary, you rise. And look, you can interrupt on both of these. Why can you interrupt? Because they're so important, they must be dealt with right away. Because once the business moves on, you can't go back to this. So you can stand up, and technically you should be standing up actually, and you stand up and say, Mr. Chair, I have a point of order or a point of parliamentary procedure. Then you must stop the business, whether you're talking about the motion, and deal with what the point of parliamentary law is. Withdraw a motion. There are 2 ways to withdraw a motion. It has not been yet announced. It's gotten a second, but it hasn't been announced yet. That person, whoever made the motion, can stand up and say, Mr. Chair, or Madam Chair, I wish to remove my motion. Now, once it's been announced, then it goes to the floor of the Senate. Once it's been announced, the motion is owned by the Senate. no longer the individual who presented that motion.
When it being seconded. You mean when it's being seconded?
Once it's been seconded, what did I say?
When it's been announced.
Okay, once it's been seconded, thank you. So, then, if you want to withdraw that motion, the maker of the motion stands up and says, I wish to withdraw the motion. The chair then says to the body, is there any objection to withdraw that motion? If there's an objection, then it goes to a vote. If you don't get the vote, the motion stays. Okay? Division of a question, you don't need to worry about. I'm sorry, division of a question, yes, you do need to worry about. I'll take it in a minute. Division of a question. I want to paint the room red. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that motion? It's two parts. You could maybe want to paint the room, but not color red. Or maybe you don't want to paint the room at all. So you would vote that down. You can't have two variables in the same motion. So someone could call for a division of the question, meaning let's split that question in two parts. First, let's take it, do we want to paint the room? And then what color is the room? So that's division. Division of assembly, you don't have to worry about. You're required to take a roll call vote. Division of assembly is when you take ayes and nays, and it's not, you can't distinguish whether the nays won or the noes won. You have a division of the assembly, and then you do a roll call or a hand vote, so you get it's a division of the assembly. Okay, first, Puneet, or was it Puneet first?
You said when we were withdrawing the motion, it has been announced by the chair, and there is an objection. We go to a roll call vote. What is the vote required? Is it majority? Is it 2/3?
Withdrawal motion?
It doesn't state.
Okay, good question. It goes back to what would be required, if it's a 2/3 or a majority up here. Okay. Thieves, let's talk about thieves right here. Because this seemed to be an issue of big contention, this appeal. This is an appeal of the decision of the chair. If you guys think there is some issue that is wrong, it's within your rights to appeal the decision of the chair. Can you interrupt? Yes. Why? Because it's so important. Once the business goes on, you can't go back. It might have been voted on, and then you can't go back. So you must stand up and say, I appeal the decision of the chair. Is there a second? Yes, it gets a second. Debatable now? Yes, of course it's debatable. Because the chair is doing something that you think is not right, so you have to talk about it. Not amendable, you can't, but it only takes a majority to change. And it's very strict language. And it's something like, do you vote to appeal the decision of the chair? Meaning that if it votes yes, the appeal wins. If you vote no, the chair stands. Okay? So there's these little things like that. All right. Now, maybe I'm simplistic here. Maybe I've worked with this for so long that I feel very comfortable with this chart. I want to hear from you. Do you understand and see how if you use this chart, you can get through any meeting?
I think the chart, maybe it's because we are not used to doing every motion that's on there, every request or motion that's on there. As we're getting more used to it, I think it will make more sense, but I think we need examples, like a sheet of examples.
Good, let's talk, that's excellent. Let's talk about this. You know the main motion right there. Any motion can be amended, meaning I move to paint the room red. So actually, let's not say that one. I move to allocate $5,000 to the bicycle program. Somebody gets up and says, I move to amend the amount to strike $5,000 and replace it with $8,000. Whenever you amend the motion, use the terms strike, add, or delete. So, it's really clear. Instead of trying to rephrase the entire motion, all you're saying, I move to amend the motion to strike $5,000 and replace it with $8,000. It gets a second. Now you are in this amendment. No longer the main motion. Your sole conversation and discussion is about whether it should be $5,000 or $8,000. Not whether any money should go to the bike program, simply the amount. That's all it is. Then you can have second and third levels of amendments, and it gets crazy because you forget what the real main motion is. So I'm recommending that anytime you have an amendment, somebody writes it on the board so you can see, because it's like a ladder. Degrees. So you got a first degree motion. So they strike the 5,000 and they replace it with 8. Then somebody, and you're still discussing that, somebody comes in and says, well, I move to amend to make it for winter quarter. We don't allocate the money until winter quarter. Now you're in a second degree motion and you're debating whether the money should be allocated today or wait until winter quarter. Then somebody can come in with another motion or amendment and it gets crazy. And that's why you should put it on the board. Now, to get out of that, you've got to go back the same way. So, someone said to wait until winter quarter. So that passed. So now your second amendment is to strike 8 and to pay it in winter quarter. So that's when you start debating that. All right, so then that wins. You go back to the main motion. The main motion is to allocate $8,000 to the bike program beginning winter quarter, which is a compound problem again. But from the example, let's just go with it. So now you bring the main motion, and you have to vote on that and get that clear. Okay, postpone definitely versus postpone temporarily. Postpone definitely is out there. You can postpone it until the cows come home. Definitely, temporarily, is to a certain point in time. Okay? You can postpone definitely to next meeting. Or you could postpone, just leave it indefinitely, actually indefinitely, and it's just out there. Limit debate. If you want to put a limit on the time of debate, you can limit debate, but it does take a 2/3 vote, I believe, doesn't it? Yes, because parliamentary law is very big on you discussing it and getting a chance to talk. So if you want to limit debate, limit debate. Now, guys, when you do put a limit, like on a time limit on your agenda, and somebody comes and says, well, I move to add 2 more minutes, please don't make it 2, because all you're going to do is waste time adding another 2 minutes, and another 2 minutes, and another 2 minutes. If you're going to add time, add 15, 30, 20, whatever it is. And if you don't use that time, that's fine. But don't get hung up in trying to add time. Closed debate is end debate. Any question on that? Postpone temporarily table. Brian Murphy is scheduled to come and talk to you. You have it at the first agenda item. Your meeting gets to the first agenda item. He's not here. You can vote to table it, or you can vote to postpone temporarily. That's within the same meeting. This is to future meetings or to future times. This is within the same meeting. So you're going to postpone until Brian Murphy shows up. Okay? Question of privilege is if you can't hear in the back of the room. And this is important. So you can stand up and say, I have a question of privilege. What is it? Could you get the speaker please to speak up? Or restroom break or something like that. Recess, pretty straightforward, and adjourn. Yes?
Can question of privilege be used when the chair is being partial?
No, that's appeal to the position of the chair, right there. Being partial, you mean? Being biased? Yeah. Yeah, and then actually, that would be more of a parliamentary procedure inquiry, because the chair, by parliamentary law, is supposed to be non-biased, so that would be there. If the chair is entering debate, yes. But let me share with you something. The chair has a right to call on whomever they want. So if you didn't get called upon, the chair doesn't have to call upon you. Should the chair do it? No. But that's the power of the chair. And you see this in Congress all the time, quite frankly. All right. Did that help? Did that help there? So, all right. Any questions? You guys all know this now. I did that good a job.
There are some, like scripts that I went over with the Senate before, like our very first meeting, that I thought at the time were pretty helpful. I'll forward them to you and see what you think about that. It's like a mock.
Yeah, there's mock meetings, and actually, if you can't do it in 25 minutes, but normally that's what we would have done. We would have had a mock meeting and actually had different people chair the meeting, and we have a dialogue, and we bring in all these different scenarios, and it can get very, very involved. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, go for it.
Okay, on to item 3. This item is to discuss methods in which the municipal election will take place in the fall quarter 2016. So last week we were talking about just having the Senate formally decide how we wanted to have the elections take place. What I need to do.
I think we should show the timeline of the events
Sure.
Considering there's only like 1 week of school left, I still want to see what we can do in order to promote more candidates to join. We could try to go to the student orientations that are still happening within like the next few weeks. But I don't know if you all want candidates from those, new students as candidates.
Yes, Zoe?
Wait, are we only deciding on like the dates and the process of that day, how we're gonna select the midterm?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. Are we also discussing the qualifications?
we set the qualifications when we worked on the midterm application all together the last quarter, and we mapped out the timeline. As of now, we just need to micro-map the meeting.
We're talking about how the meeting would go when we are electing the the senators, or are we also talking about when we will be giving them the presentation about what needs to be done? You know how we had how we got a presentation from the former senators before the elections happened? Are we having that presentation for the upcoming senators too?
I remember that was in the talks when we were discussing it and mapping it out as well. But we could do that as well. But what was the first part of your?
That we're talking about we're discussing the meeting
individual. We'll be deciding depending on how many applicants we have, basically deciding time limit for their brief presentation. I believe that we'll be distributing the applications, I think, a few days in advance to all of us once College Life reviews them.
Are we supposed to count?
Oh, we don't.
Did we take one item?
No, at the beginning of the meeting we swapped item 4 because we had a guest who had things to add to it. So we swapped it with 1. Then we continued as originally on the agenda, item 1 to item 2, then 2 to 3, and so forth.
Yeah, are we supposed to be on FHE police now?
Oh wow. Well, I just jumped to item 3, my bad. Okay, continue. Right. Yeah, my bad. Okay.
time, so do we need
We don't need to do that much.
So we currently have no idea how many applications there are, so we currently can't really decide on how much time can be allotted to them. So it's just like a vote for yes tonight. Alright, according to the people who have been showing up to our meetings, we can decide based upon that.
Because I know with like D&E and SRS, there's like always interns that come up to me and ask. So that's, but as of now, I think we over projected how many people would apply back then. It's not going to be as lump sum as we thought.
Is it possible to like push the election back like a week or two and then edit the requirements so they're more accessible for everyone, even students who weren't able to get involved during the summer? I don't know if this process is equitable.
It's kind of late to decide that because it's already decided. But it can always check the elections, but it was already decided anyways. But I think right now we're just like trying to figure out what to do on that day. The day we're deciding who's going to get elected.
Me?
So how I feel like we should go about that is let them have an opening statement, which could be 2 to 3 minutes long, because I believe that 3 minutes is a lot of time for a person to speak. Correct. And then we can have senators asking questions if there are any other questions that they want to ask them, and then we can move on to next applicant, and then after that we can all discuss and.
Indeed.
Are we going to be discussing after each person gives a presentation? Or like after that? Or like,
Me?
I need to first.
Fair.
If I remember what the exec committee discussed about several ways, but I can't really remember. Each applicant will have like a total of 5 minutes, including Q&A, which is 3 minutes for presentation, 2 minutes for Q&A. And I think we also agreed that everyone would present first and then like we discuss.
So last year, how they did midterm elections in the cooperative was like we were saying, everyone applying presents it all at once for 5 minutes with Q&A, and then at the end, the senators go through every applicant in a discussion, like, okay, we like this about this, or we like. Is that how it happened? That they like this and this, they like this perspective senator, they didn't like this about this senator, and then they voted on which ones they like wanted to elect in and not. I didn't see that part.
I didn't ask her the question.
Voting.
How did they vote?
It was straight, that's a good question. Some people felt intimidated voting with a show of hands. We didn't have the electronic system. So we had little pieces of ballots. And one time we had like 19 people going for positions. And so we did that elimination voting process where you voted for your top 5 because there was 5 spots available. And then those top 5, or the ones cut off somewhere, 10, whatever you wanted to take, then you debated the top 10 out of the 19. Other times, it's been strictly a vote. With the system, it's real easy because it's hidden until you guys vote. So it all depends. They've done it different ways.
I like the top 10 method, and like it just decreases the number through there. I like that.
That would depend on the number of applicants we have.
We have lower than 10 applicants, and I guess we can go through the roll call.
Right.
I just want to say again, because of the fact that it's not that many, right?
If we go to roll call, then that person, so like each vote would be for one person, yes or no. if that person doesn't vote?
Well, number one, first of all, it's up to them if they want to vote or not. They don't have to vote. It's not no compelling each senator to vote. But with the paper method, we were able to find that because you had a ballot. Everything has to be public eventually. So whether you do it secretly here, so it has to be recorded in the minutes. So you had a ballot with your name on it, and you got your top 5. So we would know who voted for whom.
First?
Will the candidates be in here while we're discussing about them, or
Well,
I mean, they will know anyways.
please, I advise your point. You can't exclude them. They have a right to be in the room while you discuss business. But you can ask them to leave. And normally, in the past, they've always left.
Any other ideas considered?
Well, you said that each candidate is going to get like 5 minutes for you to do their presentation and 2 for us to ask a question, right? Could we maybe like limit the amount of time we get on the presentation, but not necessarily limit to strictly 2 minutes for the questions? Because what if I have a lot of questions? Like that could be the case. And like if we don't get to ask them, then maybe we'll make the wrong decisions about a certain point. What limit do you want to set like for the court? Because if there are applicants, like we need to go through the whole process quickly because it takes a long time. And we need 5 minutes. What is?
Go ahead, Sylvia.
It's already 5. No, 5 per questions.
Did you?
I agree with that. Said I feel like we're gonna have a lot of questions for each person. So like 2 minutes might not be enough. But I think we should decide that after we know how many people are like actually applying, so that if there's only like 5 people applying, we can give each person more time.
Yeah.
And you keep this.
Fair.
I mean, the better the presentation, the less amount of questions we'll have. So if we give each person a time limit, it'll, like hopefully like force them to put some like decent effort in it. So I think that's just
Is it possible to also decide on the date of like if we want to alter like, one process, like if we're really dead, if we have to like have a cutoff and we're really dead set on 2 senators, we can't decide between the 2. Is it possible to then decide if you want to question both of them individually and decide then if which one we want to go? Is it possible to do it on the day of, or do we have to decide now?
It's possible to do it the day of, as long as you do it and get a confirmed method prior to you starting the process.
Anything? I mean, did you? Sorry.
I think what Sylvia's trying to say is like we didn't know if we were deciding between 2 people in the beginning before we listen to them. But after we listen to them, we can't decide between like 2 or 3 people. Can we do something different to decide?
No, because here's why. You got to tell the people what the process is. You can't change it midstream.
So right now what we have is, correct me if I'm wrong. Right now what we have is everyone presents, they have a certain amount of time, like a presentation, and then probably unlimited for questioning. And everyone goes to that, and then after that, all the senators discuss every single prospective senator, and then we decide on which ones we like, and then we try to have everyone gets 5 votes. I'm unclear on how we're going to choose which senators we like. Like, which prospective senators we do intend on.
Towards the end, when we are actually voting, I don't know, John, can we do this, that we, first, all of us, we can vote, all vote if they want that person, that prospective senator on Senate or not, and if we have senators exceeding the limit of seats available, then we can maybe discuss that in depth, and a person, and each senator could be assigned as a certain number of votes.
Okay, so that's essentially what you're doing with the process I explained, where everybody gets 5 votes, and then you take the top cutoff somewhere, and then you narrow it down that way.
How do we phrase that in a way that's like it's clear. That's what we're doing. And also, what is it possible to have like just in the process, just add after we went through like the first vote, we have the option of bringing prospective senators back and then asking them questions, and then we make the final vote.
So if I understand it right, you're gonna vote and then invite them back in?
Possibly, if that's
Well,
necessary.
anything's possible, but you gotta recognize your time. If you have 15 people, you're giving them, that's 150 minutes, that's over 2 hours.
Any final ideas or thoughts? Anything else? Jack, yes, sir.
Could someone put this in paper somehow to like,
Wait,
so we have something to like adjust visually.
Here. We need a piece of paper?
yeah.
As of now, we have opening statement at 2 minutes with questions to follow. Three. Okay. 2, 3. So 3 with that. Yeah. And then 2 questions.
You have nice hands, by the way.
And then discussion afterwards. Discussion after each candidate or all each
After-
after all the
after
candidates?
all.
Okay.
So this information will be handed out to the
Before. Anything else? Any other mind specs? Yes, ma'am.
Are we deciding upon how much total time we'll be allocating to that agenda item? Are we going to talk about that too?
Yeah. Victor?
I think that we should, like, what we do, we should just see how many applicants, then we'll decide on the time.
The week before, the week that I'm finalizing the agenda, I should be able to see, judging by the applicants and the college, like, how much time to allot.
Any other specs? Yes.
Yeah, I think.
Yes, sir.
Maybe after discussion, after all,
Oh, no, she's
we
doing
would,
the way
like, go for our top 10 or top 5, depending on the applicant number.
That's all.
Then after that, we'll go
I
with
know,
that.
6.
Okay.
You want to write it down? What you need to say?
What was it?
Like, we'll vote on our top 10 or top 5, depending on the applicant number. Then after that, we'll go in depth.
There will be, we have 21 current active senators. Correct. So we have 9 seats. I guess the question that you all could discuss is if we are planning to fill up the seats, if we need then qualified senators, or if we are setting up certain cutoff, or yes, okay.
I think the cutoff is obviously 9, and we don't have to fill those seats, but it would be nice to fill those seats if the applicants are good enough. You know, like, completely.
Curious to know my concern. We only have like 5 minutes to decide whether the person will be a good fit on Senate. Like typically a job interview would take like 15 minutes, but you only need to decide within 5 minutes. I would like judge based on the first impression. Then to me it's very hard to like say, oh, this one is a good fit. And why we are obsessing on the time is like the most important thing to be like whether the person is a good fit for our Senate.
Fair.
So this is before this hearing, I think each senator will be handed out a copy of their summary statement or their mission statement at least. So this presentation process is a way of like, visually seeing their like as they're done on paper. mix and match. So they're consistent.
That's it.
I don't know if this is my thought process, but like, somebody who won't get in the Senate, somebody who's getting involved, right? So this is the person who's already this has some familiarity with because they were maybe going to our Senate meetings, maybe they were going to our committee meetings, so like, somehow being involved. So we would still have some familiarity with the person, or those would like to before they actually come.
Very well.
I would want a person who has
One
worked
stop by
in
see the office is open. Anyone wants to? Yes, ma'am.
To answer Trump's question, that is why we have question timeline in place, so that the questions is for us to know the prospective senator letter, and we allow them to take it to 2 minutes. It is up to be extended, and the time is up to be increased if we have more questions or another senator more has questions to ask. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Is it just like a speech, or is it like video and stuff? Because last year it was just speech. What do you guys? Just speech?
I think we should be open.
Yes, okay.
Sorry, speaking in turn. I think we should be open to everything. Because I remember you had like a video, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, because like last year it was like 2 minutes and the computer had a problem and we had like still 1 minute left, so I think we have to address all these issues.
Did they counted that stuff?
Yeah, they counted like I think more time than no. I'm still content. I think Paul was there and was like, no, it's your problem that the computer didn't work.
Maybe have them go last or first. Like either one of those two, so like it's everything is set up. You know what I mean?
But what if everyone has a video?
I don't know.
There's
So basically, if they have something in advance, send it to us before the meeting.
We do a meetup before the meeting that we have in just right.
yeah, we'll be
With all the candidates.
oh, we know. We haven't discussed that yet. We can go right now.
With all respect, at first, I do not like the idea of them turning in their video or presentation ahead of time, because we are not making other applicants turn in the speeches before time, right? So that would be just, or they can, if they want to turn, if we want them to turn it in so that it would be ready, maybe they can turn it to secretary and not to the senator itself.
Yeah, that's fun.
So time has expired. Do any of you want to extend time, or do we feel like we have enough efficient information? Any? Yes, it will. He's fine.
Is it next week?
Finance is on Thursday.
We can choose to have a meeting next Wednesday. It is finals week next week, so if you does anyone move to extend time, or is this efficient? Any no?
We're not going to be meeting again until the day. The day we come back is the day this is all going to go down. So,
You're not
We have a whole special meeting.
that would be like the first week of fall.
I move to extend 15 minutes.
Victor moves to extend time by 15 minutes, seconded by Sylvia. Are there any objections to extending time? Okay. 15 minutes has been extended. You can continue. Yes, ma'am.
So are you deciding like the number that you're using for 5 or 9 now, or where is this thing? What do we need to decide?
We're deciding on so during the meeting where we are having the senators, the candidates, prospective senators come in to present, we're deciding how much time to allot them to give their opening presentation, how much time we're going to have our senators spend to ask some questions, how we're going to do the vote, just like that tiny stuff.
So we haven't decided how many senators there are.
Yeah, we don't know yet because we don't have applications.
was like, have we decided on whether to fill up all 9 senators? Is it? Like the position, open positions?
How many seats?
Right? Yeah.
Oh, no, we haven't yet. Sorry.
So it's like, so let's say it's like depending on, like we've tried to fill like all 9, but like at the same time to see whether the respective senators are like good enough.
I feel like they want to know like how they can do it. So can we just get like part of the
That will be fine, but it all depends on qualifications. Like nine potentially can get in, but it's only determined by the Senate who gets it. Up to 9 can get it. So if you have like students talking to you, you say no. Go ahead.
Do any of us have anything to add or amend to any of the things that are up here? The opening statement for 2 to 3 minutes, questions to 2 minutes, 2 minutes, but it's not restricted. If you have any other questions, you can open the time to more questions, and then we have discussion after each applicant has presented, and then if we have more applicants than the positions, then we go for our top 10 or 5, depending upon the number of applicants, and then we vote and discuss on the cutoff dates.
When is the announcement? Is it on that day also or in a different time?
Of like how we're going to do it
I mean, like the announcement of who get elected or not
on the day of, and we'll try to swear them in by the next session.
After the discussion, we have like an optional thing where some people need to be called in, like in case we can't decide. Can we just like put like an optional thing after that, after the discussion?
As in you mean, if we have further questions for the applicants to clarify some details, they might be called in. So
Yeah, after we all discuss each person. So if we were to be put in front of
John, can that be done?
You can do anything you want. Would I recommend it? No, because you're not bringing everybody back.
John would recommend it because it would basically wasn't unfair to them. You would like rating everyone. Is there any other further additions?
Maybe we can add a minute for after discussion questions if we actually have, or if we don't have them, then maybe we won't use it, or if we do have them, then maybe we can have questions for each applicant.
Right, you just write it down so we can keep that in our mind once the day comes. Anything else?
One question.
Yes.
Do we approve this?
Would you like to formally approve this or leave it open for adjustments? Because once we approve it, it's set. So up to adjustments in the future? Okay. Any other final additions? Okay. Is there a motion to end discussion?
Move to end discussion.
There is a discussion, seconded by Puneet. Are there any objections to any discussion? With that, we will move on to the next item. The FHA police chief of the market guidance to discuss the police chief for the Atlantic College. John, would you like to go in?
Okay, so, I guess Patrick wrote a letter to the chancellor and was referred to President Murphy. And I believe that Elias is also working on something that I'm sorry, I don't know what it is, but he did email me today and said that he had made contact and that he couldn't come to the meeting today to report it. And he didn't tell me what it was so that I could even say it to you. So it looks like you may have to postpone this one till you find out what Elias is working on. But then I would also recommend to you that if Judy referred you to Brian, I would exhaust every possibility and go ahead and try to talk to Brian about this also. That might be redundant, and he may not meet with you because Judy's already it's on the radar somewhere, but at least try so you can get this thing moving forward. Then once you have exhausted all possibilities, Brian, Judy, I don't know what Elias is working on, if it doesn't get you what you want, then you go to the board.
I don't know if I shared this at the last meeting, but I emailed Judy Minor, and she forwarded my second email, the revised ones, back to the president. But I never got like a CC or a forward from the president back, so I'll email them for further follow-up. Are there any other further questions? Because it was just basically an information discussion. Any questions? Okay. Moving on to the next item. Indy will present newly adjusted administration change bylaws for our next vote.
Was it admin role? Yes. So it's not the edits that we made last week isn't updated on here. I'm just going to tell you what changes we made last week. So in Article 1, Section 4, Letter B, conduct a parliamentary procedure workshop at least once per quarter. We originally changed it to twice per year, but last week we voted to change it back to once per quarter. Yeah. And sorry.
Is there a motion on the floor? What else?
That was all that we changed last week.
So now we're on to the second vote, the final vote. Yes. And Senator moves to approve the newly adjusted administration committee bylaws and codes, second by Gara. We are in discussion with this.
Are those all the changes made, or are there more?
No, last week this was the only change that we made, Section 4. But these are the changes we made previously. I don't know how to remember. Yeah, here we go. We just made the officer positions optional.
Is there a motion to end this committee?
I'm looking at this section.
We understand discussion, seconded by Said. Are there any objections to any discussion? If not, we will go on to a roll call vote.
Matthew,
Yes.
Edu,
What? Yeah.
Keith, Ferris, Sobia,
Yes.
Puneet,
Yes.
Chungham,
Yes.
Anastasia,
Yes.
Victor,
Yes.
Faiz,
Yes.
Ali, Kurumi, Derek.
Yeah.
It passed.
We will go to the environmental sustainability bylaws.
Did everyone read the first page? Okay. Oh my god. Work.
Is it a show?
Last week, the only thing we changed was we made the officer positions Article 2, Section 1, letter D. Instead of the committee chair shall assume, we changed it to delegate, which is the same thing we did for the administration code. But it's not written on here. Sorry.
Is there a motion to approve the environmental sustainability bylaws and codes? Jared?
I move to approve the newly adjusted environmental sustainability committee bylaws and codes.
Is there a second? Second by Victor. Now we are in discussion for this motion. Is there a motion to end discussion?
I move to end discussion.
Very second, seconded by Denise. Are there any objections to any discussion? With that, we will go on to a roll call vote.
Matthew,
Yes.
Edu,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Ferris,
Yes.
Sylvia,
Yes.
Puneet,
Yes.
Junham,
Yes.
Anastasia.
She loves.
Oh, she has. Victor,
Yes.
Faiz,
Yes.
Kurumi, and Derek.
Yeah.
It passed.
With that, the ES bylaws and codes passed. Now on to the newly adjusted marketing committee bylaws and codes.
That was postponed indefinitely. So we're not bringing it back today.
Okay, this one you have.
Okay, with that, the marketing bylaws and codes are postponed indefinitely for whenever the committee decides to bring them back.
Yeah.
Now on to leadership training time, dates, and recommendations.
Okay. So that.
What?
I just raised his hand.
Good.
Why are we watching ourselves?
Okay. So in the admin committee, we want to do a leadership training for the senators, a parliamentary procedure workshop for the senators, and a Title IX workshop for the senators. And we need to do that in a time where all the senators are going to attend, and not like the NBC where out of like the 25, only like 17 or 15 showed up. We want every senator to be there for it, and we need to find a time to do that. We were thinking Wednesdays at 3:30, and then have the the regular agenda resume at 4:30. But then the meeting might last really long, like 7 or 8, and there may be classes at that time. So when do you guys want to have that?
Nice.
Friday is the best day. Isn't it? You guys?
Anything else?
But, like if it's during the day, then there'd be classes, and like people would shuffle in and out. If you're okay, if everyone's okay with that, then it's fine. But
I think we should have it during the Senate meetings because everyone's already here.
Victor?
But yeah, if like we're gonna do on Wednesday 2:30, is it gonna be 1 hour, like for a few weeks?
that's what we're thinking. But if it's gonna last, the meeting is gonna last extremely long, then
John?
Okay, so by law, you're only required to have 2 meetings a month. And Senates in the past have had workshops, so they'll have a meeting in the beginning, first Wednesday, and then the second Wednesday, it's a workshop. No business to conduct it, it's just strictly a workshop. It's agendized so the public can come in, and then we have training sessions during that workshop. It takes some ability on your part to know what's coming up, like if you have finance things and all that. So the earlier you do it in the semester, the better, because there's not a whole lot of finance things right up front in the semester.
Yeah, I like that idea of having like just one Wednesday review allocated to workshops.
Yes, okay.
So how would it go in the fall? Because the first week we're electing senators, and then second week we're swearing them in. So third week would be a workshop. But I still think that we should be able to, like, even if we do have that workshop on the third week and don't conduct any business, there should be an option of including an hour of some type of training, if like in the first 2 weeks. Because it, like, what if it doesn't work out with everyone who needs to conduct that workshop?
I like the idea that Sylvia suggested, mainly because that way our workshop would be divided into 2 or 3 sessions, and thus that would be easier for us to take in information in parts than everything thrown out at us in one whole big chunk.
Anything else? Yes, Siri?
I think I like the one-day workshop thing more, just because the other meetings might last longer, and
Okay, so who are you going to use for a resource? That's another concern. If you use a resource, they may not want to come twice on 2 successive meetings or 3. They may just want to do it in one shot. So what resources are you using?
for parliamentary procedure review, for Title IX, it's Keith and Sylvia, and for leadership training, we're programs across campus.
No, nothing, sorry.
Yes, Steve.
I like the one-day workshop. If we agendize it and make it every meeting, it's going to be like a business item, and we're not going to retain a lot of information. It's just going to feel like another thing, another area we have to do, rather than, I mean, that's not how real workplaces do it. Real workplaces, they get you out of the business area, and then they put you somewhere else, and then you can come back, right? When you're actually doing the work. If you make it part of the work, then it's just apparent. I feel like one day where we all just get comfortable and do all of it, have more fun, hopefully it's going to be better.
Just a question, can it be on a weekend? Is it possible?
It is possible.
I mean, yeah, I can, but
Okay.
I think it's harder to organize on the weekend because everyone has like the things that they want to do.
So, yeah.
Okay, it depends on the presenters. First of all, that's a priority. Second of all, I don't want to have everything on weekends, even if like 2 people can't show up. Everyone needs to be there on the weekend. Or can you guarantee that every single person can be there? Everyone's here on Wednesdays.
It's just a question.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me backtrack. I may have missed this, but I thought you were only going to have one topic per Wednesday because you're doing a parliamentary procedure, you'd be pretty exhausted and wouldn't probably be receptive, or the learning curve wouldn't be great for having a second topic. So I think that if you want to have it successive Wednesdays or sporadic throughout the quarter, or what the past senates have done is they've dedicated a Saturday all day, and there's been multiple things on a Saturday with breaks included and snacks and drink, beverage, that type of thing.
The key word to what John said is dedicated. The issue, instead of like trying to figure out whether it should be one day or sporadic Wednesday meetings, the issue is that senators should carve out time for this. Every time admin has tried to do this in the past, we look at the Wednesday meeting and like half the Senate can't be. Carve out some time. This is important. This is dedication. It's important.
I like the idea of having it on a weekend, maybe every Saturday. And as Keith said, we can find a Saturday to come into Senate. We can find a Saturday in like the first month or the second month where everybody's free, or we can carve out that time out. That should not be a major issue.
If it's on a weekend, let's try to make it on an earlier intake.
Yeah.
That's just
Any other suggestions? Yes, Eddie?
It's not going to be one Saturday for all the workshops. That's not going to be possible unless you're here for like 18 hours. Because there's leadership training, which we were thinking of getting 8 different programs, because we have a total of $1,700 for our leadership training budget, and the Title IX workshop and the parliamentary procedure workshop. John has to go over like everything, so I don't think it's going to be one day.
Bring like a time of like how long each workshop, how long each workshop will be, like according to your plan. Like 18 hours each.
Okay, I'm open to the weekend idea, but it's just so difficult to do it. With the leadership training, what he was saying is that, and every time he's tried to have a leadership training or NBC workshop with us, it's not been long enough. Every time he says it, like as soon as you guys start going into depth of it, like as soon as you touch like the iceberg, and then you guys run out of time. 5 hours was not enough for him. So how can you say like we're gonna try to fit everything, all the different programs, all the different trainings into just one Saturday from like 8 to whatever time? You need more time for everything.
I remember when you and I were talking about this, I think, last admin meeting, we both found that, there's always times during like the weekends when we're all meeting together that there's some that are absent, but there's like also people in our Senate meetings who are like some who may be absent. So there's almost never a way for us to fully determine when everyone will be present. Yes?
Maybe this is the appropriate time for me to share this with the full Senate. I've shared it with individuals, but you know that there's been some controversy and conflict in the Senate. And so besides using the Mundo Norte, who wants to come back and do more, and those of you who attended realize that one-shot deals don't work, and he made that pretty clear. Both Michelle and I know of a past student trustee who now is a professional mediator, named Thomasina, and she has just presented a proposal. We just got it this week. We haven't had even a chance to review it, but it's like 12 sessions of in-depth work. So that's going to be on your plate pretty soon to talk about that. And the college is putting some money behind it. It's not free. It doesn't come free. It's $8,000. But the college is willing to put some money behind this to bring Thomasina in to do this. So that has to be built in to your weekly schedule also. If you so elect to go through with that proposal.
Sorry?
I think with that mediator training, with coming in, it would be best if we were able to do it right after our meetings and on Wednesday. I know it's like a little bit more time invested, but if we could just do it on that Wednesday, on Wednesdays back to back, I think it would really benefit everyone and the center session.
But so many of us have classes either right before Senate meeting or right after Senate meeting. That's why I'm saying just carve out time, because that's when you're supposed to dedicate your extra to. When you don't have classes, which are early.
So your responsibility as a senator, one of the main things is you have your Wednesday open after 3:30. If you have any class after that, that's in the time of the Wednesday meetings, even if the meetings end early. So to say that everyone has class on Wednesday after, it's your senator, it's your duty to have that.
With all respect, Zoe, I do not like the idea of having it after our Senate meeting, because usually our Senate meetings last 3 to 4 hours. Like not counting summer, but during fall we have agendas. They usually last for 3 to 4 hours, and after sitting for 3 to 4 hours and debating on issues and agenda items, I don't think the senators have enough cover deficit for another 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah, I agree for me that many of us also need to look tired. And now we're training after the meeting, like, you won't be able to absorb all the information. But,
What about Fridays? I know there are some meetings, committee meetings going on Fridays, executive meetings on Friday, but not a lot of classes are held on Fridays.
Right?
And it's like our action thing. Non-violent. Non-violent what? Action thing. It was pretty good. I like that.
Yes, it is.
We can figure out a time right now, but it also depends on when these programs want to come as well. Like, I think John would be willing to come when we ask him to. But, and Keith and Sylvia, but like the programs, I'm not sure if they would be willing to come on the weekend or like Friday evening or whatever.
Based on that, let's just consult with them first.
So
I would say spend time at 10 minutes.
we'll be doing 10 by 10 minutes. Second by chair. Are there any objections to 10 times? With that schedule. Sorry.
Let's contact the people who are going to do these things first. And I think a good idea would be to have our longer meetings, like the mediation meeting and MPC during like free open days, like Friday and Saturday when everyone does have a lot of energy. But when we have little trainings like Charlie Pro and Channel 9, it would be a good idea to have it for an hour on those days.
Yes, first.
John, how long do you think an extensive parliamentary procedure workshop would be?
We've done it in an hour. It just takes about an hour.
Anything else?
I agree, it's going to be the short ones we can do, the longer ones we can do during Fridays or Saturdays.
Anything else? Yes.
Whoever's consulting programs, can you let them know like when we discuss the debates, just so like we don't get so many different responses from like so many different programs? It's better if you just give them a suggestion, like hey, the Senate thought Fridays would be a good idea, for example. Just to give them a suggestion so we can keep it in mind rather than you contact all of them and they all come back with a different convenient time. obviously you gotta give them leeway, but it's better if we have a suggestion.
Any other suggestions? Nothing else? Is there a motion to proceed?
Correct, yeah.
Move to end discussion.
Ferris moves to end discussion, second by Chapin. Are there any objections to any discussion? Okay, with that, we will move on to the introduction of prospective senators.
Hello?
Are you interested in running for midterms?
Yeah.
Sweet. Introduce yourself for a brief moment if you want to.
I think I already did. Why?
Could you introduce yourself to me again?
Yeah. My name is Batman, CHAN. I already did the tech company intern, and then computer science students taking care and involved in the next meeting, like the poly program, and then the poly members. That's it.
Thank you. Any public announcements?
Alright, Crams is going to be the last time. I won't be joining the meeting. I'll be transferring to UCLA as a so if you have any question about transferring, just message me on Facebook. I will be happy to help you all.
Don't message him, he'll just send
When are you leaving?
August. Yeah. See.
You're welcome. Any senator announcements? Ferris.
It's working on a Google Map project, which would be cool. So like, leave the campus on like class locations and stuff, because